was pretty fast in the month of November. We had a lot going on personally and behind the scenes, so I just didn't have as much time to read as I normally would. And I think this time of year as well, it's just hard to do reading with so much going on. The holidays are around the corner. There's a lot of festive activities. People are trying to get together. It's very, very busy, and that's why I think I can't really find the time to sit down and commit to reading. And I think that's what's led to a little bit of a slump as well. I think usually I have a lot of momentum, and if I'm getting through books, then it makes me excited to pick up more books. But because it's been kind of slow going recently, I just can't find that spark to get into reading. So hopefully in December, with all the holiday books around the corner, hopefully I can snap out of it and get back my reading excitement. But this month I did manage to read 4 books, which is pretty decent, all things considered. I thought I wasn't gonna get through anything, so I did get through these 4, and I can't wait to tell you about them. The first 2 books I read this month were holiday romances. I just wanted to get in the mood of the holidays, and I know that this time of year they always release the cutest little books that you can kind of fly through. They're usually pretty short and they have really sweet stories. So I picked up Holiday Romance and Snowed In. These are both by Catherine Walsh. I just love the cover of these. That's like half the reason I decided to pick them up, but I know I'd also heard really good reviews and they did not disappoint. I liked both of them. I gave them both 4 stars. In the first one here, Holiday Romance, we have Andrew and Molly, and in Snowed In, we have Christian and Megan. And you can read these separately. They don't have to go together, or you don't have to read this one first, but it is always nice in these interconnected standalones to start with the first book and then move forward, because characters do make an appearance in each other's books. So I always like to kind of just start at the beginning. So I read this one first, and this one is a friends to lovers kind of forced proximity situation. Molly and Andrew live in Chicago and they are trying to get back to Ireland for Christmas. Andrew's family takes Christmas very, very seriously, and Molly is also trying to get back to Ireland to be with her family, who don't take it as seriously, but it is important for her to be there. And they, over the years, they have caught the same flight from Chicago to Ireland every single year, and they always sit next to each other so that they can talk on the whole flight there and catch up. They've been friends this way for like 10 years, and this one holiday they are trying to catch their flight, but they end up having to take so many different detours to try to get to Ireland. And Molly's like, I'm going to get Andrew there because it means so much to his family that he comes on Christmas Day. And so through that journey of trying to get to Ireland, they realize that actually they might have feelings for each other and maybe their friendship is a little bit more. I just thought it was so adorable and so well written. I gave it 4 stars. Like I said, it was such an easy read, flew through it I think in like a day, and I had a really nice time. And then the other one, Snowed In, is Christian and Megan. Christian is Andrew's brother from the first book, and Megan is a friend from the town. They kind of grew up, so it's childhood friends, but not really friends. They kind of were acquaintances. They knew of each other. And then this is also fake dating. So they both are gonna go home for Christmas again, and they don't wanna get any bad vibes from their families. And Megan actually ran away. She left her groom at the altar when she was younger. It was her childhood sweetheart. And so she doesn't want to go back to this town and face everybody. And Christian, who a lot of people thought was like the town bad boy and a lot of trouble, he doesn't want to go back because he's like, I never have anything to show for myself and nobody's ever impressed. And so they decide to kind of be each other's support system and pretend to date and just kind of show up for each other when they need strength. But as always, they're forced into, spending time together and learning these deeper quirks about each other. And one day they also get snowed into this like really cozy cabin. It just has the most wonderful vibes. And it just, it gave me a lot of butterflies while reading it. So these 2 books are just so sweet. Ignore my Kindle that just fell. But I would highly recommend them if you're looking for something fluffy, something easy to read, something to give you those holiday vibes. Then these 2 books are definitely the way to go. They will not disappoint. The next book I read was a highly anticipated book in the fantasy genre. Everyone knows the title. It is Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. I was over the moon when I got my hands on this book. I could not wait to dive right in, and it was a big old letdown, and I just was so disappointed with this read. I can't even believe I'm saying this to you right now because I thought I would be sitting here talking about my favorite book of the year, but unfortunately that was not the case. I did vlog my experience reading this book. I'll link it at the top if you're interested in watching a detailed summary and view of me going through the emotions of reading this book from high to very low. It just was not what I thought it was going to be. And, you know, kudos to Rebecca Yarros for getting out a book so quickly after the first one, especially because the first one was such a hit. And I can only imagine the pressure that she felt. But unfortunately, because she got it out so quickly, I think there was a real lack in quality, and I don't think the editor also picked up on a lot of things that they probably should have before releasing this out into the world, because this world is so fascinating. I loved Fourth Wing. I thought it was just so cool, this concept of a war college, the telepathic dragons, all of the kind of scholars having their own signets and abilities. I just thought it was such a cool world, and they could have gone in a million different directions and really built on the story. And this book was just not what I thought it was gonna be. They, you know, like I said in the vlog, there's details of what I felt, but long story short, I just didn't think there was enough character development. The plot was not structured. The writing was super simplistic and very elementary, and I think I even saw a couple of typos. I did not enjoy the romance aspect of this, which is the biggest letdown for me, because in the first one, I love those characters together and their romance. In this one, I felt like they were just going round and round and round, having the same conversation over and over, and their relationship wasn't really progressing. All those things considered, it was just such a letdown for me. I gave it 2 stars. Watch the vlog if you want to see more details, but yeah, I can't believe it. I can't believe I didn't like this and that it turned out the way it did, but hopefully it has second book syndrome. I mean, maybe there's some hope. Hopefully the third book picks up and it's a little better and more like Fourth Wing, but at this point, I just don't have a ton of confidence that it will. And then the last book I read this month was called The Ritual. It was on my Kindle. I will pop the cover here. And this book is by Chantal Tessier. Apologies if I'm saying that name wrong, but it just looked intriguing to me. I think I saw one person on Instagram say it was like the best book they had ever written, and that was enough for me to give it a chance. And I'm not a big dabbler in dark romances. I just don't think they are for me. I'm more of a fluffy rom-com kind of girl or an emotional rom-com kind of girl. I can do all of the emotions except these like really deep and intense like kidnapping murdery vibes. That's not really my jam, but I thought I would give it a chance because the girl was so convincing and she just said it was like the best thing she'd ever read. So I was like, okay, on a whim, let me see what this book is about. And I gotta tell you, dark romances are not for me, I don't think, at least not at this point in my life. Earlier this year, I did read like those Disney dark villain dark romances like Hooked and Scarred and those ones. And compared to this book, those are like a walk through Disney World, because this book was wild. It was so intense. It was so dark. I think if Hooked and Scarred were on a scale of dark romances, it would be like a 1 or a 2, and this one I would register as like an 8 or a 9. It was like going in the deep end. I have no idea why I thought this is going to be a good idea for me. Personally, it's just not stuff I like to read, especially when it's, you know, I don't think it's like I mind like those crazy kinks people have and crazy things that people want to get into. But with this book, it pushed so many boundaries. And I think one of the things that I don't like reading about is when guys are like violent or aggressive towards women without any real reason. Like, that's the part that got me. I don't understand the aggression when there's no need for it. So it just didn't make a lot of sense to me. It's about Riot and Blakely. There's this big secret society at their college. It's a college for rich people, and there's a secret society called the Lords, and they kind of go through these different rituals to become initiated into this group, and they're like some of the most powerful people in our society, like judges and presidents and all the things. And they can also have these like chosen ones, which they can do whatever they want with, and these are women that they choose in their last year of this initiation. And then eventually over over time, they can kind of also turn those women into ladies or pick other ladies. And there are also tropes of like arranged marriages, because it's like powerful families trying to stay powerful and manipulate different marriage couples so that they can keep power within the families. It sounds like a really cool concept, but in its entirety, it is just a wild ride, and it's just too intense for me, is what I've realized. I gave it 3 stars because I will say it was entertaining, but it definitely, you know, they say everything is not for everybody, and this certainly was not for me. I think I'm gonna be leaving this genre alone for quite some time, and I'm gonna go back to my little Lauren Ashers and all those kind of authors, because I think that's where my sweet spot is. But I'm glad I gave it a try, and I know now like how intense dark romances can really be, and maybe at some point in the future I will pick them up again, but for right now we're just gonna leave it alone and just not touch it, because I don't think it's for me. So that's it. Those are the 4 books that I read this month. And like I said, all things considered, life was lifing. I still think it's pretty decent that I read these 4 books. I am in a bit of a slump, so I'm looking to zap myself out of it. I'm trying to do a Sarah J. Maas Blitz video where I get through the last of the books that I have left in her series before House of Flame and Shadow releases at the end of January. So I am working on a vlog to crank through those. And Sarah J. Maas usually kind of takes me out of my reading slump, so I'm really banking on Girlfriend to help me get that spark back into reading. And I also want to throw in some holiday romances in December. I had such a good time reading Snowed In and Holiday Romance that I think I want to read a couple more before this season is over. And then I also have a couple of nonfiction that I want to get into, because it's the new year, everyone's making resolutions, everyone's trying to better themselves, and so I do want to read a couple of those and maybe make a recommendation video on some of the nonfiction books that have really like transformed and moved my life forward. So I do want to share those with you guys as well. But thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time.